Hey, Chris Barrows, how are you today, buddy?
I am doing well. How you doing, Vincenzo?
I am absolutely ecstatic about being the guest host for your 50th episode. I couldn't be any happier. And before I let you talk, I want to say that you were one of the integral parts or integral pieces of my podcast journey. I was, in conversation with you when you started this show, and it really gave me the kick in the pants that I needed to eventually do my own show. So I thank you for being one of those integral podcasters, for helping me and inspiring me to actually do a show. So thank you. And we talk about two totally different topics, but it doesn't matter because seeing you do this, 50 episodes is a big deal. Podcasting, anybody that's podcasted before or maybe is podcasting knows that it's not easy. There's a lot of work to be done. This is the fun part. The interview is the fun part. It's after, it's before, it's, it's all the stuff that goes into it that is really the dedication, or that proves your dedication. So Chris, thank you for being a model of that. Let's just jump in, man. Tell me why you even started with Why Social.
Well, it's funny. I thought about doing YS Social for a long time, and I considered the fact that when I actually was looking at what was going on in social, there was these great people who never got to tell their story. They were never on these top 10 Twitter lists. It was always the same people. And I think this is still the case today in a lot of ways. And I wanted to tell their stories. And quite frankly, I was trying to figure out the way to do that. And to me, it was a podcast. But I, much like you kind of were talking about, need the kick in the pants too. And I got that kick in the pants, at the end of last year. So, sometimes we all need that. But, it really, when it came down to it, there's so many great stories out there. And I think we have a responsibility to tell good stories. I think that's what's at the heart of social media. I guess if that's why I social. I mean, that's really it for me. I mean, and telling these stories is a lot of fun. So, and I'll be honest, it's been really rewarding because I've got to meet some pretty amazing people along the way.
Your podcast has included everyone from Brian Fanzo, Ted Rubin, me. Sometimes I wonder why you had me on, but it's okay. You've had people in all walks of, or all industries, from everywhere. What was your reasoning behind that? Like, why did you decide to do a show that had no specific or apparent niche?
Well, there was a targeted niche of people who I thought were doing social well, who I thought represented the space well, and for the most part, I've landed that. I think at times, certainly, people could argue with me on that, but we all have different opinions, and that's fine. For me, by looking at the different walks of life, I mean, to go from the Tamara McCleary's and Britt McCallan's and then you get, some savvy, sexy social, and these are all very different people. And I'm excited because to me, that's the fun part, that we're all meeting different people who we might not have seen otherwise. And hopefully, because my thought process was, if you listen to one person, like you really like the career services side with Mark Babbitt, maybe you're going to come back and listen to, Tamara McCleary inspire the hell out of you and just want to live life to your fullest. So that was kind of the idea. And I thought that it would work. I didn't think it would be a gigantic audience, but I thought enough people would listen, and enough have listened, I guess I could say to this point, that I've consistently done an episode every week now, and I've got to number 50. So and again, I should point out, I'm doing this episode, but this was something people asked for. And that to me has been the biggest thing, is just the feedback that keeps coming in, and then taking time to listen to it, which is, at the heart of social media as a whole as well.
So let's go into that first episode. It was Brian Fanzo. And what were you thinking? Were you nervous? Did a switch go off in your head and say, okay, it's time to put on my podcaster voice, and now I'm Chris Barrows of Why I So, what was going through your head during that first episode? And answer that first, and then I'll have a follow-up to that.
Well, the first episode, the first thing going through my head was, One, this was actually the first time fans and I talked face to face. We had talked on Twitter for ages, but we had never talked face to face. So it was kind of cool that, oh, I'm going to get to talk to Fanzo. I wasn't so much worried about the conversation part because, yeah, as you know, I really stress conversation, and that's just so much at the heart of what I'm trying to bring, a conversation, not so much a formal interview. But I was more nervous about the technical side of things because I've got a digital media background, and I was like, I don't want the sound to suck. And so I think my nervousness, if I had any, was that. And I like to think it's improved over the course of time, but I mean, that still is always, honestly, my largest concern.
The audio, yeah, I mean, the production side of things is definitely the always the most nerve-wracking thing. And speaking from experience, it's we're oh no, are the levels okay? Is everything plugged in? I mean, I completely hear. But I guess the follow-up to my question was, how has the podcast evolved since episode 1? And is it where you thought it would be by this point?
Well, how it's evolved is it's hard to say it's where I thought it would be because where I thought it would be might not have been the most accurate thing in the world. Simply because I didn't expect the amount of feedback that I got. I mentioned feedback before. Just as an example, like Matt
Audio,
Black.
I hope, because
Yeah.
that's a bad thing.
No, but like Matt Black has, for example, like really early on, and I was not good. I was not buddies with Matt Black, and now I could say like Matt Black, I talk to like every single day. But at the time, he had wrote in, I think he tweeted me, and he said to me something about, "Hey, it's Community Manager Appreciation Day, and it'd be really cool if you talk to a bunch of community managers." So I totally took that idea and turned it into an episode, naturally giving him full credit for the idea, but that was the kind of stuff that started happening. People also jumped in early on and said that, hey, let's shorten that intro, which, some people, I think if you don't take constructive criticism well, you can say, no, it's perfectly fine. Now, in this case, I said, okay, we're going to shorten it. And then I think, as you know, the big change for me was really taking the length of them and really kind of more recently making them shorter, a little bit more digestible, which early on I was against. So to say I'm where I thought I'd be, I can't say, because where I thought I'd be changed dramatically because I built it with a flexible strategy that I could adjust it accordingly. And so in that way, I guess it's where it's supposed to be. I get that's kind of the best way to put it.
Is there something, let's go back to, again, the beginning. Is there something you would have changed on how you launched the podcast? And I know that you've changed things because I've seen, I've been listening since episode 1, and we've had extensive conversations. But what would you have done differently during launch that you would give others that are trying to go along the same path of podcasting?
One, I don't think I was as consistent as I could have been in the beginning. That was certainly it. I didn't have the whole tune in every Tuesday at 7 a.m. So that was huge. That was definitely huge. And that I would change immediately. I was kind of just doing one a week. I was consistent in doing one a week, but I was not consistent on day. And I think the biggest thing I've learned, and I think, you and I've talked about this, I know in private, but the delivery method, where did I focus it? And I didn't focus it on iTunes as much early. Now that's going to change strategically with Google a little bit more in play when that officially happens. I think it'll be interesting what happens, but I was focusing a lot on sending people to the blog, and now I realize, well, it would have been great if I just sent them to iTunes. I mean, I was lucky enough. I was on the New and Notable, and I was thrilled. I was on there with some awesome folks. I was on there with Fanzo. I was on there with Britt, but I could have done more in terms of pushing them to iTunes and maybe grabbed more subscribers early on, which I definitely think about sometimes. But again, I've got a great group of people who listen. They may not be, as many as other podcasts, but they are, I think, as loud, if not louder, and in a good way, sharing great information than some other podcasts that are out there.
Yeah. So one thing that I love that you do is the ambassador program, which I don't see a lot of that elsewhere. But your ambassador program, what made you start the ambassador program, and what have you seen in terms of, we don't have to talk specific download numbers, but have you seen a difference in overall, reach, impressions, downloads based on before ambassadors and post ambassadors?
I don't know that it's been as much in the actual downloads. It's hard to say with downloads because when the episodes got shorter, it didn't take 2 times listening on a commute to get through the whole episode. So I think numbers fluctuated in these weird ways. But I think the subscriber count has definitely gone up. And I know we don't see these numbers. I mean, podcasters know this. We don't necessarily see how many subscribers we have. But if I put out an episode now and I don't tell anybody, it gets a lot more listens than it did before. So to me, that's really specific, and that's very important. But the other thing that I pick up on is the people talking about it, the conversation about it is consistent every week, and I think it's been growing. And I think the other cool thing about it is it's getting to talk to people and get to know them better. More recently, we started up a Slack group for it, which is slowly but surely going, and I'd say about half the people, and it was about consistency too, because I was emailing them and had them in a Facebook group. Now it's a little bit easier because email was clunky, I thought. I got most of them, at least half has stayed with the Slack, went into the Slack group, and still have a Facebook group. So again, trying new things, I think that's the other thing, and they've gone with the flow. And I will say this, just to go back to what you said, the reason I started the ambassador program, what it comes down to is people were helping me and I wanted to help them back. And I wanted to share their content. And really the ambassador program was designed, hey, I'd love it if you would share the episodes every week, but please share your content. And in the Slack group, there's a share your stuff channel. And literally I just ask, hey, if you have anything you want me to share it. And I will push it out.
Yeah. And the power of the community has become so apparent. And I also see that podcasting has changed with the implementation of a community focused content or community focused content, and you, at least from what I noticed or what I saw, were one of the first to really embrace the power of your listeners, your community, the people that were already there. Let me focus on who's already listening to my show instead of trying to just get new downloads, new subscribers. There's a whole group that was already listening. So, again, kudos to you. I can't give you enough credit because you deserve a ton of it, starting something from scratch and getting to the point you are. So I have a couple questions, a couple more questions, obviously. Who was your top influence? If you had to name one, pick one, your biggest influence for the podcast, or even just for the way you are on social. Who is it?
If it's for the podcast, it's Chris Hartwick.
We'll go one. All right, one of you.
Yeah.
I know you because I know your answer on that one. So go ahead.
If it's for the podcast, it's Chris Hartwick, because Chris Hartwick, if you don't know the story, for anyone listening, it's kind of been told in bits and pieces. But Chris Hartwick, when he was at High Ed Web, which I was speaking at the conference, I had to take a phone call. Long story short, I didn't get to have a photo with him, and he was leaving out the door. He was rushing to get a plane out of Portland. And I'm standing in a corner, on the phone, really wishing I could, just have got that photo. And somehow he realized it, because he's heading out the door. He's about to leave, and then he turns back and walks towards me and shakes my hand and said, "How you doing?" And then he goes back to leave. But it sounds simple, but that handshake, because the style of a show I was trying to build in the first place was built around kind of the style he does it, I was like, holy crap, I got to start this tomorrow. And then in terms of social, that's, I think about it in two ways. I mean, in social media, there's people who are amazing, who've impacted me. But ultimately it comes back to the fact that I was raised with this idea of just trying to help people and to put people first. And you hear me say people first on occasion. I don't own a hashtag. I'm not going to claim to, but I say it a lot. And the reason is that's what I was taught. And the people who are doing that, I mean, I say Ted Rubin, and I have to say, and I can't say one, because it's Ted Rubin, it's Tim McDonald. It's the two of them combined. I mean, the first time I actually came to New York City when I started my job, Tim McDonald tweeted me and say, "Hey, let me take you out to lunch." I mean, so these people impact me. And I got to meet up with Ted later. much later down the line. But I think those two certainly inspire me to be better, and it's not just in social, but just better as a person. And Tim, I can't say Tim's name enough. I mean, he's just an amazing guy.
Who, if you had to pick anyone alive outside of Nerdist, Hardwick,
Right.
who would you want to be on the show?
Oh, that's tough.
Think about it. Go ahead. I'll give you a second to think about it. But who would it be?
I'm going to do the millionaire thing where we talk a little bit about how will we get there. Because there's some good people coming on who would have been on that list. I will say there's a person who's going to be coming on. It'll be episode 51 or 52. Not sure which. But, and honestly, it's funny because it's somewhat connected to Nerdist. I have to say, I would love to get a large name, but not necessarily from social media on the show, but does a good job on social. And that I have to say, it might be Will Wheaton, simply because Will Wheaton, the guy answers questions. He's ridiculous. I get that at times, and he's so funny, but he answers questions. He's constantly talking to people. And he's also, I have to say, just very engaging. And I don't know, I really am impressed by him. He'd be fun to have on the show. And overall in the social space, I think he does a pretty good job from that. And his story, I know, is similar to Hartwick, and he kind of came up from, the ashes to a certain extent. But him, and actually, I've been saying this lately, but I'd love to have Bat Dad on, because Bat Dad is like regular guy, but does social so freaking well. So it's Bat Dad or Will Wheaton. I've been mentioning Bat Dad lately. I really hope Bat Dad eventually responds to me, because he gets so many of these messages. But I'd love to get Bat Dad on the show.
That's the goal. The goal for...
And his wife. I should point out, because people talk all the time, his wife is amazing as well, because she puts up with so much stuff. So I will say much props to her.
So your goal for episode 100 is going to be either Will Wheaton or Bat Dad.
Yeah, I'll take either of them.
On there. For those of you listening, make sure.
Or before then, I don't. Oh, that's cool too.
Of course. Who is going to be the next Vincent or Vincenzo on your show to complete the trilogy? So you had myself and Tim Ehrlich. Who's the third?
I don't know. I'll take suggestions for another Vincent. This is where I'll go to the community and say, what Vincent do you want on the show to complete the trilogy? And I know Orlick asked that question, because that's an Orlick question.
Of course, that's all right, here's something a little deeper. And if you can think of one, what was the most memorable moment in an interview that you had? So you've got 50 episodes under your belt, maybe some more in the can. What was the most memorable moment you had? And maybe it didn't get published. I don't know. It could be anything. What was something that really stood out to you?
Well,
pick one. We got to pick one.
There's just one. The one memorable moment. I've talked about this before, but I think the one that really stands out to me, I think it has to be, I had a chance to have Alexandra Scheinert on the show. And she's someone who's very close to Mary Alice, who, if you don't know Mary Alice, it's my wife. She's very close to Mary Alice and I. And her story to me was really remarkable. And I didn't just have her on the show because I knew her. I would never do that. I mean, I had her on the show because her story was really cool. What she was studying was so cool. But to have that conversation with her, it kind of reminded me of the journey she's been on and how we've got to be a part of it. And she later, and this is what touched me about it, she later came back to tell me how important it was to her in her job search and how it helped her think about what she had been doing in her project. And, and Alexandra's she inspires me. She's may as well be family. So that one was really, really special. So in terms of a moment, I mean, that whole conversation, I think you hear me kind of even crackle a little in the intro to that episode, which I didn't pick up on until much later.
Yeah. And she had just graduated, I believe, too, at that point, right? Or
she was
right around the time.
Yeah, she was about to graduate. I have a photo actually at my office of us after she graduated, and we got a photo. So yeah, it was right before.
Do you have a favorite episode outside of that one?
Oh gosh, hard to pick. It's and I ask these questions sometimes, and now I understand how cruel they are. Favorite
They
episode?
Barrows.
No, honestly, uh, the the one or two that stand out, and I gotta pick one. I think it was the time that I did that Community Manager Appreciation Day because it was I normally have a vetting process that I go through to figure out who's going to come on. I did none of that, and I just picked random people. Said, "Who wants to come on a podcast?" And it worked, and people wanted to do it, and it was really fun. So that one, I have to say, really stands out, and it was quite a bit of fun to do, and I look forward to doing something like that again.
I'm going to implement. I'm going to take liberty of the fact that I'm the guest host, and instead of just 5 favorites, well, maybe I do have 5 written here. I have some favorites that I do want to ask overall, and this is one that you ask on every show. What's your top social platform?
It's Twitter because I engage the most there, but Instagram lately has been running a very close second. Really love Instagram. I don't put enough into Snapchat, or Snapchat would also be in that close second because I've been inconsistent on Snapchat just a lot lately. But yeah, Twitter. I have so much fun on Twitter. I get to have so many great conversations there, and I meet someone new there every day. I mean, I think as I've said, I've talked about this before, but I say hello to someone every day who I have not talked to in a while. And to me, it's just so cool to connect with them. And the people I've met have changed my life on Twitter. When I say Twitter has changed my life, I mean it. I would not be where I am personally and professionally without it. From the Twitter chats to social road trip to having a barbecue at my house. I mean,
yeah, that was a great barbecue, and there was quite a few of us that were already on the podcast as well on the show. It was myself and Cody Stevenson was there with his wife, and we were all on the podcast, which is really cool. And it went from Twitter. So I agree with you there. I love Twitter. It would have never opened up this relationship here, and then again, a lot of other ones.
Right.
Favorite pizza, and of course, the episode that you had a little pizza battle on. So, what's your favorite pizza? Chicago, New York.
Well, we know it's New York, and I know that Lucy's gonna yell at me about this, but we know it's New York. I have a lot of respect for Chicago pizza, and it's unique. But New York style pizza is just, I've grown up with it. I like it. It's simple. It's not overdoing it, and it's pizza. I can get $1 slice of pizza in New York, and it tastes better than pizza in most any other place anywhere. So to me, New York just does it best. And you know what? If it's the sewer water, I'm still okay with it because whatever, it tastes good. I don't know what makes New York pizza so good. It's just fantastic as far as I'm concerned.
All right, what's your favorite pizza shop then to get a slice?
Ooh. There's John's of Bleecker, which is really good, and that's kind of where I go. But you have to go with a group because you can't really consume a pie on your. Most people can't consume that entire pie on their own, and they don't sell by the slice. That happens to be my favorites in the Village. It's fantastic to get to, and I always love walking through the Village. So I'm there all the time because that's where my comic shop is, anyways. So
my next question, we need to know your favorite comic.
Ooh.
Speechless. This is a first.
Yeah. No, see, it's easy to say Batman, and it sounds like it's really the right answer. But I really like the direction Batman's been going lately. So if we're talking in the current moment, it's actually wouldn't be Batman. Batman, if you asked me 3 months ago or 4 months ago, different. I have to say Walking Dead because I'm definitely a different type of deadhead. I am a Walking Dead head, and I love the comic. I think the show does a pretty good job, but I've enjoyed reading the graphic novel and getting the comic every week. Is just you never know what's going to happen. It's like the show. So,
do you have a favorite character outside of the favorite comic book, or does your favorite character come from that same book or comic?
Oh, my favorite characters. There's so many amazing characters. I mean, you have to understand that like there's I mean, and it's easy. It's so I could pick and choose. I'm not going to because uh I mean, there's Doctor Who comics, there's everything. So I could pick a character who I love, but honestly, the one of the funniest comics that I have read in the past 2 years, and it's just a for fun comic, truthfully, was they did one for Bob's Burgers. And honest to God, reading the Gene part in the comic, because they break it up into each kid gets a story, and it's Gene making a musical in every comic. And the character of Gene in that comic book, it's not a traditional comic book character by any means, but I love what they do with that comic book, and it's hilarious. And they did 2 seasons or 2 series of this, so it's not traditional. I mean, normally I'd say Batman, but we kind of counted Batman out based on your question, so.
Well, we had to because it was just too easy to do that.
It is.
Okay, this was a crowd question because I don't even know what this is. Your favorite Funko Pop?
Oh, that's a good one.
And 10 bonus points if you know who asked that.
Well, I think that is a certain person who has at the name in front of her Twitter handle and has to correct people on their spelling. The favorite Funko, I got a lot of these. I have like 50 or 60 of these Funkos now. And I think my favorite, and I've got a lot of Doctor Who. The biggest collection is definitely Doctor Who, but my favorite is I have the the Ghostbusters from Comic-Con San Diego. And I had to buy it online. It was not at Comic-Con San Diego, but it's actually technically it counts because it's in the box with all 4 of them, but it's the Ghostbusters covered in marshmallow. And it's pretty cool. And they have not come out of a box. They'll never come out of a box, but that's got to be my favorite. Now, there is one that could become my favorite because they just released and it's in the UK. So anyone in the UK, and you can get a hold of this for me, I'll love you for it. There's a TARDIS that is materializing and it's actually clear at the bottom. So I really want that. And that would probably be my favorite ever because that just sounds really cool. And I think it looks pretty awesome.
I still have no idea what you're talking about, but I
look it up.
I know you. I wrote it down.
There's this thing called Google.
What's Google? What?
It's Google. You look up Funko Pops.
Karaoke song.
Go to karaoke song?
Yes.
Well,
and I know you don't tell everyone this, so we need to know. This is like the only thing you do at conferences, apparently.
I generally, the only time I end up singing at karaoke, so, well, I don't get out to, I've got a kid. It's hard to get out to karaoke sometimes. But when I go out, it's not like the most, loud song. And now I've been getting now when I go to conferences, I get requested to apparently sing David Grohl songs. I don't know why that is, but I have to say it's Jack and Diane. I always do Jack and Diane. I have so much fun with that song, and I don't know. I really enjoy it. So I tend to do it. It's an easy go-to. I do sometimes do. Oh God, now my mind is slipping here. But I do a few different songs. Like I've done Closing Time, or sometimes I do like a lot of those closing out the bar songs because I also end up being there to the end of the night at conferences at these events. So. I find my on stage with people sometimes too, and then I just have to learn the lyrics.
Well, little John Cougar or a little bit of Dave Grohl. I got it. I get you. I got you there. Favorite beer?
Oh, geez.
I know it's hard for you to pick one, but let's.
Well, no, there's so many good beers, but the beer that's most special to me, and it's not by any means. It's probably the least manly beer that I have ever drank, but I love it. Is Framboise Lambic. Mary Alice and I drank it at our wedding, and we had beer mugs. And if you actually put Framboise Lambic in vanilla ice cream, it tastes delicious. But at the moment, I've been drinking a lot of Not Your Father's root beer.
You got me into that.
Yeah,
it's the best thing I've.
It's dangerous. Yeah, it's dangerous. I have a hard time not getting it when I see it in the store.
Because you post regularly when you do have that, you post to Snapchat. Yeah. So one day you had posted it to Snapchat and came into my view at the supermarket, and I had to get it. You influenced me to purchase this root beer, this hard root beer. You
Yeah,
changed
I'm a bad influence apparently, but
no,
hey, I'll take it.
greatest thing ever. Listen, those were questions that most of your listener or most of your guests wanted to know from you. Some of them were questions that you had asked in the past, and some of them were not. Some of them came up, but most of these questions were given to me by your guests. So that's just testament to your awesome guests that you had in the show, the impact you've made on them, and also a lot of your listeners as well. I can't thank you enough for letting me, be the guest host for the show. I'm honored completely. You are an amazing, amazing individual. You're changing the world of higher ed, but you're also, spending your hard, I say hard-earned time, and people are like, well, what does that mean? No, you mean hard-earned money. No, your hard-earned time, because when you're out of work, you could just go home and play with your kid, or hang out with your wife, but you choose to do and give back to your community by podcasting or engaging on social or helping others in any way. So if there's anybody that can be a role model for others out there, it's you, Chris. So again, thank you for letting me do this. If you had one quick thank you to somebody or a couple people out there, because I know you have a great support system. So shout out to them. Who is it?
Well, it's easy. It's my wife. I do spend I allocate as much time as I can, and I mean weekends, especially weekends, are for family. But my wife is the most understanding individual in the world. She is the one, and as people don't realize this, but when the show was first starting, I was going through taglines and things, and I said, I think the first phrase I actually uttered as I was going through the thinking process was from CEO to average Joe. And she goes, no. And I'm like, what? Like, I didn't even get to finish her thought. She's like, no, from average Joe to CEO. So from early on, her involvement with the show can not be understated. And she is remarkable too. I mean, what she's done. I mean, I don't know if people know this either, but first 6 months that I was actually at a new job, she was taking care of Des basically alone, and I was just there on weekends. So she is my rock. She's my constant, and yeah, she's special. And I mean, anyone that my YA social ambassadors all mean the world to me, and I do got to give a shout out to Zoom, because Zoom has been there. I don't think people realize it, but I know I say it, but I think people still sometimes miss this fact, because you get a sponsor, you think, oh, well, they're giving you money, or they're giving you a service, or they're giving you something. But I was using Zoom before they became a sponsor. And Zoom understands. Zoom has said, hey, we don't want you to interrupt your show and say, by the way, this show is brought to you by Zoom. They say, no, just throw it at the end, and then we'll include it in the graphics, and whatever you want to do. And they're totally understanding, which, you could not. You couldn't have a better sponsor. And I was very specific. I didn't go into this thinking I'd have a sponsor. So I could, and if I missed you, there's so many, I could thank 20 million people here. So I'm going to stop it there.
Exactly. I mean, that was, I know your wife has been super supportive of everything you do. And, I watch your Snapchats and I see your Instagram posts where you're with your family on the weekend. And I wanted to make sure that we set aside, at least a minute at the end of the recording here to thank her, and just, because you exude that, I'm a family guy, but I'm also working really hard. So I'm glad we got to mention Mary Alice here. And Zoom, Zoom is a perfect fit for you, because they're doing their culture is exactly the way you are on social. They're willing to help. They're willing to, not only do they have a great product, like Why Social, it's a great product, but they're also willing to help go above and beyond. So shout out to those guys. I know they're listening as well. Amir and Ali and everyone else at Zoom, Gabby. So shout out to them as well.
Yeah. And I love I've just started to work with Gabby, and she's fantastic. So
yeah. Again, great team there. So Chris, again, I can't say thank you enough. I'm really happy for this, and I can't wait to go back and listen to it again.
Well, I appreciate it. And I want to thank you for taking time to do this because I know people have been asking you about, hey, we want to do a podcast where we learn about the podcast, which weirded me out. I just like, what? But eventually I came to understand and I said, okay, let's do it. So I thank you for doing it and no one better.
Of course. Oh, well, thank you. I do appreciate that.
I trust me. I thought about this carefully. So, but I definitely would love. I mean, I know obviously, you know.
I stopped the recording on my side, just so you
okay.
know.
Yeah, I know. I know that we have some people here, and I'd love to actually talk to people and turn this more into that Q&A type period, and really do it that Blab style because I think it would be a mistake not to. So, and hopefully meet some new people who maybe I haven't had a chance to talk to before too. You never know when the next guest, a new future guest, is gonna get in that open seat.
Oh, for sure, guys. Yep. All right, cool. So we have our first guest. It's Ask Chris Anything. We've got about 20 minutes or so, and our first guest, Joel, is jumping in. There's another seat, so please feel free to jump in. Welcome to the show, Joel. How are you?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good, buddy. What are you up to?
Oh, just listening to this, getting ready for Spoof Chat. You know how it is.
How you doing, Joel?
Not doing too bad. How are you?
I am not doing bad at all. I gotta say, I love that Joel's here because for those people who don't know, I get to work with Joel as he is my co-chair for EDU Web Digital Summit, and it's a real blast, and it's an example of that social relationship that we have an opportunity to build. Because I would have never met Joel if not for Twitter. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. So I love this because it was so funny to see you stumble over the same questions that you ask people every week. And,
I know.
And I was wondering, do you have you may have mentioned this before and I don't remember, but do you have a favorite movie? Because you sometimes sort of touched on movies for people and stuff like that. So.
Oh, that's a good question. My favorite movie, I mean, if we break it away and don't say like this type of movie, a favorite movie and ends up being Field of Dreams, because I love the story of Field of Dreams. I love the message of Field of Dreams. And it's also really personal for me because when I lost my grandpa, I actually traveled out to Dyersville, Iowa, many years later, but not immediately after, but I traveled out to Dyersville, Iowa, and I went to the Field of Dreams. And I mean, you want to talk, about a spiritual experience. I mean, it was spiritual. I almost felt like my grandpa was going to walk out of the cornfield. So it was definitely Field of Dreams kind of stands up there. Pulp Fiction used to be number one until I actually came to realize how amazing Field of Dreams was.
Cool. Well, I can pop out if you got other people calling in or whatever.
Let's see. Do we have anyone calling in? Oh.
No worries.
I'm happy.
Jump in. Chris is more than happy to answer your questions. Guys, it's now or never to put it on Blab. Remember, on his show, you've gotten those 5 favorites. So, Joel, I'm going to jump you out. There's somebody else calling in. All right, buddy?
Uh-oh.
Hey, in Orlando, how are you? Casey, your audio.
Yeah, I do see Vincent here.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I hear you, Vincent.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I do. And
welcome to the show.
Do I see Val? Do I see Val there too? I think.
Yeah, we're just doing our nightly enjoyment of some Jeopardy.
Excellent. We used to do.
Just trying to get her into one of those higher ed places that you work in eventually.
That's a good way to do it. Jeopardy is a good start.
You got a question for Barrows?
Well, I mean, you already asked all my questions that I submitted, Enzo. So, I mean, I don't know. No, Chris, I just want to thank you for having me on the show, number one, and for allowing me to help you out and be an ambassador. It's fun. I enjoy it, as you can probably tell. And I guess my question would be, can you give us a little tease as to some of the folks that are coming on, or hint at who might be coming on in the near future?
I will just say, if you have ever heard of unmarketing, you can expect a little bit of unmarketing on YA Social. That is booked to be recorded
Very
shortly.
nice.
So yeah, a little bit of unmarketing and the whole unmarketing team, not just one, both.
That's cool.
Members of unmarketing. Cool. So that's a big one, and a little bit of Carrie Kirpin's coming on the show as well. So excited to get the other half of the Kirpin family on the podcast.
Circle.
So that I can tell you. Those two I know.
From one superhero to another. We'll
love it.
Congratulations.
Thank you, buddy.
I look forward to many more.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks a lot, man. Welcome Amy Schmidauer to the show, a former guest of the YI Social podcast. What's up, Amy? Amy's audio's not working either.
I see. This is what happened to me. The first time I went on Blab, I had audio issues. So I understand the pain. And it looks like we're going for attempt number 2 here.
With Casey.
There we go.
Is it working? You know
Yes,
why it's working? Because now I'm on my iPhone. Apparently, it doesn't like my computer at all right now.
Whatever works. However,
whatever
get you onto
works.
the show. What's up,
so,
Casey?
hi guys. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Better now.
It's been
better looking now too. So
thank you very much.
That's
Even though
true.
I did put my hair down because it's been a day. Chris, so proud of you. This whole idea, so awesome. Very excited that you did this, and I love that you kind of got grilled a little bit. So now you know how it feels.
It's been a learning experience for me. Let me just say that. Because now I understand how some of the questions I get, well, that's tough, and I'm like, yeah, that is tough. So I feel,
even when you know some of them are coming, it's still tough.
That's true.
So I missed what Vincent was talking about. But did he happen to ask you about the Yankees?
No, he didn't.
Because I feel like you should talk about your love of the Yankees.
I was born and raised a Yankees fan. My grandpa goes back to my grandpa, but my grandpa taught me early on to cheer to pinstripes, and I don't know. I like the tradition. I've always loved the tradition. I have a Rivera statue and a Jeter statue. Actually, they're not here because my basement that I'm in has boxes. It's not set up. I'm waiting for IKEA to deliver most of my things. But I've got a lot of stuff I got. And I went, one of the coolest moments of my life was my bachelor party, actually Yankee Stadium. Marcus Sims hit a home run to win the game. I believe it was. I think A-Rod hit the tying one. I'm trying to figure out which order it was. But walk-off home run at my bachelor party. So, and then getting to see Mo. God, I got to see Mo's last game, which was one of the 3 times in life I admit to crying in public. So there you go, right there.
I don't fault you for that. That's a good thing. You can probably see I have, if I can figure out my phone here, I have a Yankees sign up there and then one way back there. So
love it.
Those will be in the house someday. But yeah, well, congratulations, and I will pop out so other people can pop in.
Thank you. Always great to see you.
Casey.
You too.
Bye. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
That's good. I'm glad someone brings up the Yankees because I
wanted to bring them up. I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole.
It could be a rabbit hole.
It could be a rabbit hole, so I figured maybe we'll wait, but I guess
we got it in.
Cody?
I see Cody.
Congratulations, Mr. Barrows.
Hello. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. I just wanted to know when the next social barbecue is.
We have to do some kind of housewarming anyways. So I have a whole backyard now. And I guess when it gets warmer, I'll have to do another social road trip barbecue. And I'm also thinking about, and I know it'd be tough depending on the ambassadors and where they are, but YI Social barbecue or YI Social get together in and around New York or at my house or something. So, trying to think of some fun things to do. So barbecue is definitely in the works, and maybe bringing back Barrows Brewfest. Which was kind of integrated into the barbecue, but Barrows Brew Fest was the thing we used to do, and everyone brought beers and food, and we had a pairing contest. So might bring that back now that I own a house again.
Awesome.
Well, single guy didn't bring food. I forgot, but I brought.
That's okay.
I brought beer.
Pretty sure
brought beer.
Katie's
We were
food melted before we got there.
Which it was a good time. Yeah, that was fun.
That was a good time. And Katie's meal was Katie's food was delicious, so it didn't matter.
Oh yes, that's.
I honestly don't remember.
That it was a good barbecue.
Yeah, it was a very good barbecue. Good time.
Yes, Matt Black, you do have to make the trek from Toronto because that would be epic if the Canuck was in the house.
For sure.
Do we have? Oh, here we go. We got Malia.
All right, man.
Oh yes.
Thanks a lot, Cody.
Thank you, Cody.
Hey,
Hey, how are you?
I'm so good. It's so good to see you, Chris. Vince, thanks for buzzing me in. I appreciate that. I love the Flash t-shirt, by the way, Chris Barrows. I love it.
I have a lot of these shirts. I have like 20, 25 shirts between Target and T-Fury, so it's bad. The collection grows. I have a thing for collecting things, and I collect enough things and have to get rid of one of a collection. So,
Well, you know what? Admitting you have a problem is the first step, Chris. So,
Well, you know what? On that note, do you have your backpack?
yeah, hold on.
Ooh,
Hey, Amir,
it's right
Am I
there.
hungry?
There we go.
that is his
Oh,
backpack, and there is a picture of me holding that backpack as if it was the Captain America shield.
I just like how close it was to you, Chris.
Oh yeah. Oh well,
It was like within arm's reach.
it's never far. Trust me.
Never far, never far. I have one question. I have a very, very specific question, Chris. I really want to ask you about this.
Sure.
So you kind of call everyone who comes on your show alumni, right?
Yes.
And could you sort of maybe unpack that a little bit for us? Like, what does that mean to you, and how is that different from, calling them something else?
Well, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to call them guests, but to me, once I've had them on, I've had this conversation. And again, it kind of interconnects to that whole conversation versus interview concept. And to me, it's much like, and maybe it's the higher ed background too, but to me, when you've come through that, we've built a relationship. Now, you're more than just a guest. You know what I mean? You are part of the show. And no matter what, for the rest of the history of a show, you were a guest. So instead of saying guest, I like to go with alum. And to me, it's very personal because alumni support one another, and you support your alum. And at least that's how it would ideally work in any situation. So to me, that's why I do it, because when it comes down to it, I want to support them, and I appreciate the support that they've given me, even just by taking time to come on the show.
You could tell he's a higher ed guy with the alum verbiage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's the plural form versus the singular form of that noun is always confusing to some.
Yes.
And it took me a second, but anyway, thank you for answering it. Vince, thank you. Chris, nice to see you. I'll pop off.
Thank you.
Thanks, Malia.
What's up, Amir?
Guys, what's going on?
Hey, Amir.
This is awesome. I've been tuning in and out. I've been driving. I was on the metro. I heard some awesome questions. One thing is we all three got beards. What's going on with this?
Yeah. Beard life.
Yeah, beard life. So congratulations, Chris. Vinny, what's up? How are you doing? Chris, my question for you is, if you could go back in time and change one thing, and it can't be family related or something, cheesy, what would you change?
Oh, geez. I'm assuming we're not going on the paradox theories here. We're going, if I go
don't get Ashton Kutcher movies on me. There's no butterfly effect or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. I was making sure we're not going butterfly effect, or I'm going to make it so I don't exist here. God, could I go back in time? See, if I could go back in time, the problem is I would want to go back and see something Like, go to something really cool. Like, I would love to go to like the past and see like an epic Yankees game, or like see Babe Ruth play, you know. But if I had to go back and change something in realistic, I think changing time is a whole different concept. So I think I would go back truthfully to high school. And again, there's no paradoxes here. And I would tell myself, don't stop being you. Don't listen to the people who tell you shouldn't be this and you're supposed to transform into this. Because I remember going into college and trying to be something different. Like, oh, I'm going to be this. I'm going to have so much fun. People are going to really like me. And it was so stupid in retrospect. And instead, at 29 years old, I tell the story that my mother-in-law bought me comic books for my birthday. And I remembered, I'm like, holy crap, I love comic books. And why did I stop reading these? And I can tell you the success I had once I started being me again. I cite this. Okay, I'm going to bring this back in. I cite this shield for a reason. And there's a reason it's important. I walked down the street with this backpack in New York City. And in New York, people stop me and they say, that's really cool. In New York, people do not stop and talk to you. It does not happen. So when these people start coming down the street and talking to me because of my backpack, I got a freelance gig potentially out of it. I had amazing conversations, the train conversations because of this backpack. I mean, so I think, yeah, just be yourself, be true to yourself. So if I could go back in time, that's what I would do. Wouldn't really change anything, but it would change my outlook. And I think I would have found success in my career much earlier. But I won't go back much farther than that because I don't want to screw up meeting my wife. And I met her in college. So, you know, and that's the best thing that ever happened to me, period, was meeting her.
Awesome. Great answer. Captain America, thanks for your time. Vinny, I'll pop off. I'll talk to you guys both later.
Take care, Amir.
Thank you, Amir.
Thank you. Looks like that's do we have anyone else that wants to call in and ask Chris anything? For those just joining us, we did a reverse interview. I am honored to have been the guest host for Chris Barrows' 50th episode of his podcast. And it's Grill Chris, and just we should have made this a Chris Barrows road. Maybe that'll be for 100.
Oh God. Yeah, that I'll remind me when that is, so I, decide if I should show up now.
Just show up.
Yeah.
Right. Looks like
hello guys.
Hello.
KDFA, yeah, I know that's a weird kind of pseudonym, but yeah.
That's okay. It works.
I just jump in. I just came on Blab, and I just you are right now on the main page, and yeah, and it was like, if anybody want to jump in, I was like, okay, let's push on the, So what is that show about?
So tonight we're doing this is a 50th episode recording for the man to my right there. It's his podcast, Why I Social. It's your other direction. It's a little opposite on.
Okay, let's go for it.
Yeah, right there. So we're interviewing Chris Barrows on his own podcast.
Okay,
and we had an interview, and then we allowed the crowd or the audience to come in and ask him questions about the podcast or really about anything.
Okay, let's go for it. Chris, do you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay.
I see you loud and clear.
One question. One question. What do you got?
Can you pitch me your podcast in 10 seconds?
10 seconds? Okay.
Yes, I know. This is like short. I know.
I like it. No, I like it. Let's just say the Why Social podcast is a candid conversation with everyone from average Joe to CEO. And it's exactly that. It's a conversation, and you'll love it.
Perfect. That's really a good pitch. I love it.
Katie, are you in France?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Okay, so if you can head on over to iTunes, you can search Why I Social, or whatever platform you use, iTunes or
Stitcher.
Stitcher as well.
Yeah. Soon to Google.
And go ahead and subscribe to Why I Social.
If you got a link to put it on the chat, it would be cool, because so I can copy and paste and.
Sure. Sure. Does any? Do you have the link, Chris? Or
I can certainly pull it up. I'm going to pull up a Stitcher link really quick here because that's easy. And then iTunes is not up at the moment, so
okay.
Let me just.
Yeah, go ahead.
But,
just link in there for.
But there's a Stitcher link.
There it is, my friend.
Cheers for that.
Thank you for you're drinking wine. I have wine.
You know. Sorry for the cliche, but I'm French and I'm drinking wine. Sorry for that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for jumping in, man. Appreciate it.
Peace out.
Au revoir. Au revoir. All right. That was great. That was awesome.
That was fantastic.
Right at the bottom of the hour / top of the hour. So what do you say we wrap it up?
Yeah, if there's one question or two that's left, let me know. But otherwise, yeah, happy to end on a high note. That was really fantastic. I love someone jumping in who may not be familiar with the podcast. To me, that's just really cool.
Subscriber.
Yeah, I'll like I say, I love to talk to new people. I love new people subscribing, obviously, and everyone loves subscribe, but when it comes down to it, as long as people are enjoying the story and I'm telling the story, right, that's, or telling people's stories, right, I should say, and giving the chance to kind of put themselves out there. Because, I mean, there's some people I just got to say who've been on the side here. Sherry Rhodey was in there throughout. She obviously wasn't in the Blab, but in terms of the open seat, but Sherry was in there, someone who, God, people should know who she is. And if they don't, please go get to know her. I mean, there's so many people like that. And that's, to me, what makes this fun. And that's why when people said, hey, let's do this. And I want to give one shout out that's really important too, to Social Road Trip, because it's near and dear to my heart right now. Because in terms of it, as I've been doing a lot of thought, Social Road Trip and why Social align so well together in terms of what they're trying to do. And I love the fact that Joel and Amanda and I know you were involved obviously with that, for quite a bit too. So Social Road Trip and getting people to go and meet. And if you can do anything, people, please just go out, meet people from Social. It's real life. You can disagree with me, but that's fine. But yeah, Social's real life. Go say hello to people, connect with people, and take the opportunity to say hi face to face. Go grab coffee, grab a beer. That's what Joel and I like to do. It's generally when I see Joel where somehow there's a beer in hand. So,
yeah, the one time I got to meet Joel in person, there was adult beverages involved as well. Cody and I know what it's like to hang out with Joel for a night.
Yeah, it's a good time.
To leave it on this note, I think what you said is absolutely perfect. Social media is real life. Matt Black just wrote an article this past week about that. I know it's something that you've been preaching, Chris, and a lot of us feel the same way, that this is real life. It's not, hey, he's my friend from Facebook or he's my friend from Twitter. This is real life. These are real people. There's real humans behind it. And what I love the most about your podcast is that you are bringing out stories from real people and getting their real story. Like, what are they all about? It's not all about what it's not always about what they're tweeting online or what they're posting. Maybe they're doing it for work, but there's a real human behind that keyboard. And, you've done an amazing job of doing that on the podcast. So thank you, because I think that if you didn't start the movement, you were definitely at the forefront of a movement to make social real life. So thank you for that. And on behalf of everyone, guest alum, ambassadors, I don't even know if I use the right, whatever. It's probably alumni. I don't even know. But on behalf of everyone that listens to the show, everyone that supports you, I'm going to say great work. And here's to another 1,000 more episodes, buddy.
1,000. What age does that put me at? No, thank you. Appreciate it. And
thanks more than one a week.
That's true. And thanks to everyone for coming in tonight. Thanks for everyone for requesting that I do this. But remember, you had your chance to grill me. So now it goes back to I get to ask you questions.
Chris is in charge, guys.
And that's why I social.